Sometimes it is difficult to choose the most impressive memories of a fascinating trip, but in this case, the answer is easy. The very beautiful colours of Utah's rocks, and the autumn views, the colours of a land that will never stop to amaze. During a 2,800-mile journey, there is the Mormon cleanliness of Salt Lake City, the world's largest copper mine, the fantastic autumn colours of the Wasatch Mountains, American railway history's most important historical site, the splendid eastward trip across the Winters Territory to Flaming Gorge, the mysterious messages carved or painted on the rocks by ancient Indians, dinosaur monuments, prehistoric fossils, the desolate San Rafael mountain range, the puffing steam engine of Heber City, and the breathtaking beauty of Canyonland. Modern-day Salt Lake reflects the vision of its Mormon founder, Brigham Young. Clean, organized, efficient, and yet architecturally beautiful. With fountains of water, spreading life, growth, and beauty over what was originally a barren waste. With more than 4 million visitors each year, Temple Square is the focal point of Salt Lake. The Mormon temple took more than 40 years of Mormon sweat and money to complete. Perhaps its most distinctive feature is a 4-meter-tall statue of the angel Moroni, made of hammered copper, covered with glistening gold leaf. In the nearby visitor centre, visitors can admire well-decorated statues and paintings representing scenes of the Bible and stories of the Mormon Church. Young multilingual Mormon missionaries welcome all visitors and are ready to explain historical and religious details. The recently built conference centre contains an auditorium with 21,000 seats and a gigantic orchestra pit with organ, which often hosts the world's famous Tabernacle Mormon Choir.
Questo è il posto giusto. Così disse Brigham Young.
This is the right place. With this declaration, Brigham Young, having just come out of Emigration Canyon, ended the dangerous 1,500-mile journey of his people on July the 24th, 1847. Persecuted, decimated by sickness and Indian attacks, hungry, thirsty, and in bad physical condition, 143 men, 3 women, 2 children, with horses, mules, oxen and cows, finally arrived in the valley of the Great Lake and began the transformation of Utah from a desert to what it is today. Salt Lake sits east of the Great Salt Lake, the largest saltwater lake in the Western Hemisphere. Its salinity results from dozens of salts saturating and supersaturating the water. It is almost impossible to sink in it. Its vastness can be better appreciated from the 12,000 feet high Wasatch Mountains. The lake's largest island is Antelope, which is a state park famous for its beautiful sunsets and home to free-roaming herds of bison. South of the lake, the yellow-orange hues of the world's first open-pit copper mine, the Bingham Mine, capable of producing annually 17 million tons of copper, can be seen. The crater at the top is over 2.5 miles across. From the mine, approximately 450,000 tons of material are removed daily. Exquisite autumn colours can be enjoyed on the mountains to the east of Salt Lake, that is, along the scenic byway from Bountiful to Farmington. Or following the various canyons that climb from Salt Lake to the Wasatch Range. It was here that the 2002 Winter Olympic Games were held, at over 12,000 feet. For train spotters, the Golden Spike National Monument, north of Salt Lake, is not to be missed. This is the site where the first transcontinental railway was completed in 1869, and so ended the era of the Pony Express. This is the very spot where the last spike was nailed.
The Transcontinental Railroad signified the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the United States. States and had a great impact on a number of other things that were implemented because of the Industrial Revolution. They are actual working replicas of the originals that were here in 1869. They were built by O'Connor Engineering Laboratories out of Costa Mesa, California. The original engines were scrapped at the turn of the century, one in 1903, one in 1906.
One of the most panoramic routes to show the colours of Utah starts from Logan, follows the river and canyon bearing the same name, crosses the Wasatch Forest, reaches the Bear Lake, cuts through a corner of Wyoming, climbs up the 12,000 feet of the Wintas Mountains, where splendid alpine lakes attract many photographers. This one is called Mirror Lake. Further east we find the intense colours of Flaming Gorge. This is a huge water reservoir formed by the Green River Dam. This artificial lake offers so many interesting recreational possibilities that families from all over the US travel to Utah's northeast corner again and again. Flaming Gorge anglers tell stories about catching and releasing 30-pound lake trout. Boaters travel to remote camping grounds on the reservoir shore to spend a quiet evening under the stars and away from the sound of traffic. Northeast of Price, the 9 Miles Canyon, which was named by the explorer John Wesley Powell, but in reality is 50 miles long, contains some of the finest examples of Fremont rock art. Utah can also reveal the secrets of its ancient human history. Some of North America's most outstanding ancient Indian rock art can be found in a remote section of Canyonland, the Horseshoe Canyon. While descending into the canyon, one can try to imagine how the ancient residents must have hunted the then existing megafauna. Here is a petrified footprint. It was here in the bottom of the canyon that ancient Indians left the perennial signs of their existence. Life-sized apparitions seem to float out of the wall, figures of humans and animals. Sometimes it is possible to recognize their meaning, like these animals that seem to interest even this porcupine, watching placidly from the top of a tree. The Great Gallery is breathtaking. The armless, legless figures wore mask-like, ghost-like faces, looking like souls from another world.
Or if they were put up there to impress an audience of...
There is a peculiar atmosphere in this place. Even this ranger talked in whispers of what their creators were trying to tell us.
It just seems like for each individual artist, it must have been a very personal, important matter to put that image up.
The canyons, mesas, and rivers of the Colorado Plateau have spirits of their own. If one spends enough time learning their secrets, it is the feeling of the place that seeps into the soul.
And or if it's their vision of their ancestors and their after-death image, or what they thought the most important spirits would be.
Many Utah regions have a very interesting geological history. The explorer Powell was once tempted to call this region Rainbow Park because of the blue, lilac, buff, pink, vermilion, and brown rocks which overlook the Green River rolling slowly through the canyons. North of Vernal, there are the clear signs of a 145-million-year-old history when oversized animals, both herbivore and carnivore, roamed the land. But when the dinosaurs died, their carcasses were buried by flooding rivers. Slowly silica then mineralized sand and bones. When the Rocky Mountains began to form to the east, the mountain building of this area did not push the rocky layers from below, but squeezed them from the sides, warping and tilting the rocks, and finally re-exposing the old fossil treasures to be seen now at Dinosaur National Monument. The 150-mile stretch of Interstate 70 between Salina and Green River is considered by some devotees one of the most scenic portions of Interstate Highway in the USA. The San Rafael Swell has been described as the jagged remains of a dinosaur backbone, an exposed sandstone coral reef, and a scene from the Arabian Nights. It is desolate but interesting country. In the past, this mountain range was always considered as a difficult and almost impassable obstacle. With the construction of the modern highway, the perilous journey of several weeks that only brave Indians and pioneers dared to face is now reduced to a few minutes. The colors of the scenic byway north of Interstate 70 going through the canyons carved by the San Rafael River. The pictographs and petroglyphs left by ancient Indians at Buckhorn Wash. The breathtaking view from Wedge Overlook over Wedge Canyon. And more to the north, near Mount Nebo, 12,000 feet, the red rocks of Devil's Kitchen, also called Mini Bryce Canyon, are unforgettable. Heber City gives the opportunity to ride on an old, Far West steam engine. Everything seems perfect. Even the station master plays his part with genuine enthusiasm.
I like trains because they're alive. Once you put a fire in that boiler and you light the fire and you got the air compressor going, you can see the rods on the drive wheels spinning. They're alive. They're alive.
The 3-hour journey also allows time to admire the colourful views of the Lake Deer Creek and of Provo Canyon. Somebody once described Canyonland as the least inhabited, least developed, least improved, least civilized, most arid, most hostile, most lonesome, most grim, bleak, barren, desolate and savage quarter of Utah, the best part by far. He was probably right. And the view from Needles Overlook is simply staggering. Visitors are faced with a kingdom of rocks, an arena where the elemental forces of time and weather meet the raw stuff of the earth, with nothing to soften or hide the scars of battle, and they end feeling very vulnerable and small, A byway leads to the Colorado Overlook. The 6-mile road is treacherous, suitable for mountain bikes and for powerful 4x4s, but the last mile must be done on foot to enjoy finally the splendid view of the river and the canyon. This area of Canyonland is called the Needles because the rocks sometimes resemble long rows of needles. This one is called Shoe Rock because of its peculiar form. The Dead Horse Point also offers quite a view from the lip of a 2,000 feet drop-off. Cowboys used to trap wild mustangs on the promontory. According to one legend, the mustangs once remained on the point, dying of thirst within sight of the Colorado River, 2,000 feet below, hence the name of Dead Horse. It is now time to accomplish another dream. The trip by car down the track Schaefer Trail that descends 1,200 feet to the heart of Canyonland. This time, equipped with a good Toyota, the Schaefer Trail was conquered. It was an experience both dangerous and exhilarating. At the bottom of the trail, once again the fabulous views of the Colorado, seen from the cliff of the canyon, and then the multicolour of the potash salt pans, where large quantities of agricultural minerals and salts which are extracted from the river waters could be admired. Utah's countryside is truly a treasure house of scenic beauty, where one can see both the past and the future. As Albert Einstein said, one cannot help but be in awe when he contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, and the marvelous structure of reality.
4 goats, mountain goats, or I don't even know what the names of them are. And they were coming down to the stream because there was a little bit of moisture in the stream. And they were standing there watching us, and we're standing there watching them, and there were two up on a bluff up here, and there were 2 over here, and they're just watching us.